But unbelievable. Like, congrats to Sean O'Malley. Amazing performance. Like I said, almost basically a flawless victory. He barely even got hit. First round, he was kind of just more or less filling things out. He wasn't really taking any risks whatsoever. He was just kind of staying on his horse, which kind of, like I said, that's whenever Chuck Liddell would be on his horse like that and just keeping that distance and staying around, not so much with his back against the cage, but inside, the black lines, when he would get, he would just side to side, a lot of side to side movement, making it tough for Aljo just to enter for those takedowns. Like, he only had 2 takedown attempts in the first round, Aljo. So, I mean, people thought he would have been more aggressive and come out almost like Khabib, Sean O'Malley. And I was guilty too. Like, I like O'Malley, and I was kind of rooting for him, but I was rooting for him, but I didn't think, I was like much like everybody else. I was in shock. I thought Aljo was going to come in and Khabib him, just dominate him as soon as he gets a hold of him. Then I started thinking, other than like Cejudo, yeah, I got takedowns on Cejudo. He shoots a lot to get his pace and his funkiness. Funk master is how and going against the cage is how he gets his takedowns. It's not so much like he's Khabib out there, and as soon as he gets a hold of you, it's done. He's just relentless with it, and he keeps a good pace at it. And just his awkward angles, his entries, just someone with who has really good footwork like Sean O'Malley was able to kind of just stay composed. He came out composed. You just came out. His face was stone faced. He was ready to go when he came out of the locker room. He was warming up. And that's the thing, too. There's footage that came out that he was actually, the finishing sequence, he was practicing that. So, I mean, he was practicing that in the dressing room. He practiced that throughout the training camp, which basically was, like a counter. He steps back and kind of to the side or whatever. He's been circling away millimeters out of a lunging Aljo left hand. And Aljo leaving himself open by lunging out like that, barely missing, really, barely. But even, he might not have caught him clean anyway. And then O'Malley comes, makes him barely miss, and then just cleans his clock with the right hand, right on the temple, jaw type area, drops him face down, butt up, and then just hammer fists him. He's basically just dropping hammers, just 15, 17 hammers, and there was a questionable stoppage. Like, people like Aljo kind of contested a little bit, but a lot of people, his team did a little, and I get it because he is champ and maybe give him a little bit more leeway on that. Kick, Aljo reaching, right hand, boom, back and to the left. No, but unbelievable right there. And then he just pounces on him right here. We're talking, I don't know, a couple clean punches too. Just wound up punches, just boom, boom from the shoulder. As soon as Aljo kind of rolls over after eating another one, he's busted open, rolls over to his stomach to try to get up. In fairness, Aljo probably was going to get up right there, or he was trying to. But at the same time, the only reason Sean stopped hitting him was because the referee pulled him off. So I can see it was a little quick trigger. And I was even thinking, I go, man, Dana probably got the quickest trigger finger referee to stop a fight in this one. If O'Malley is showing that advantage, stop the fight, throw in the damn towel, what I'm saying? It's over, it's done, get in there, stop it, you know what I mean? But I'm just all joking aside, because obviously they don't, it's kind of known that UFC don't like Aljo, and they want Sterling. I mean, they want O'Malley. O'Malley's, he's marketable, he's a beast. He got a huge buzz out of the Boston crowd. I mean, O'Malley, O'Reilly, O'Ryan, anything, that place exploded like a big O, So, I mean, it was just an amazing atmosphere. Sean O'Malley stuff everywhere, his gear, and just walking away like a G, like he expected to do it, with a pink-haired G, whatever, this, I expected this. I knew this was going to happen. And he kind of did. He predicted, he was saying a second round knockout, but not only that, but even from way back in the day, his early interviews, he felt like he was destined to be here. Regardless of his rise was crazy because, he really didn't have a lot of top names on his resume other than, Peter Yan, obviously the number one contender at that time, who's been on a skid, and that was arguable. Obviously it was kind of like he lost that fight. Most people thought he lost that fight, but I mean, if you're going by today's criteria and damage, I mean, I could see it's close. It was close. It was 2-1 either way, But one thing you can say is no one has damaged Jan that way in any fight before that. No one's even touched Jan really, like the hands on the feet. Aljo beat him by getting into his back and dominating him on the ground. But anyone who usually stands with Jan usually gets touched up. And OMalley was able to do a lot of damage. And yeah, he got pieced up a little himself and had to dig deep. But he also inflicted a lot of damage on Jan. So it shows he has some serious power. He's fast, super fucking fast. Looking like Sugar Sean, looking like Sugar Ray out there, just quickness. And then right afterwards, he calls out, Sugar Sean calls out, who's he calling out? Oh, Gervonta Davis. He's calling out Tank, which I think they might be the same weight, actually, yeah, because it's 135 champ. So, I mean, and he's a little guy. He's like this, but that's different levels for that. I mean, Tank would destroy OMalley. We know that in boxing. For sure, but it could make headlines. If he could survive a few rounds, make it look good, land anything on Gervonta, on Tank, then yeah, I mean he's huge, he's marketable, he's a superstar. The song he came out to, "You're a Superstar," I mean that's OMalley. He's a superstar now. With the pink hair, the cotton candy hair, whatever you think of him, they did protect him. He might be protected and got all these favorable matchups to get to the top, but he's there and he beat two of the last two guys that were champ. So I mean, did a good job. I think what's next for him? He's calling his shot. He's saying Cejudo. He's saying he wants Cejudo next. So no, not Cejudo. So yeah, he's calling his shot, and he's saying he wants Marlon Chito Vera next for their rematch. They ended like in the first or second round. He got that dead leg, the low calf kick. Chito put it on him. And so he had that little nerve thing where he lost his leg basically and lost the fight. Chito, I mean, he's got those long legs. He's got really good defense on the feet. So I mean, he still could be a tough matchup for OMalley. But I could see OMalley. He's made a lot of improvements since then. They both have. But the fact that Chito still is a little bit not as active of a fighter as far as output and a slow starter somewhat, I think that that's definitely going to favor OMalley in the rematch, just because OMalley could bring the pace from the beginning. But even though in this fight he was way more patient and composed and kind of let Aljo close that distance and make a mistake and then capitalize. But he showed a lot of good takedown defense as well in this fight. I mean, he didn't get taken down in only 2 attempts in the first. Aljo came out in the second round way more aggressive. You could tell, trying to bring it to him, and then he started off with a body kick like 3 seconds in, push him up against the cage, try to get a couple of takedowns, and OMalley did a good job for not being able to train grappling for like 5-6 weeks that they claim. I mean, that's amazing to stop Aljo when he took down Henry. He took out Cejudo, Olympic caliber wrestler. I mean, so we all know Aljo, what he does. He's a backpack, and he's a backpack guy. Get the best at it, and it's usually fight over, game over when he gets it. And he wasn't able to get OMalley down, so that showed a lot of improvement in OMalley. So I mean that alone, but we'll see. Chito has gotten better as well, so that's something. Like who knows with that. I think the path now is going to probably be OMalley will fight Chito because Sandhagen's injured anyway. Merab, I don't think anybody wants to see that fight. I mean. I think Cejudo Merab makes more sense at this point right now, that, and then they could fight the winner the next because we got Chito next in December as Sandhagen heals up. And then once Sandhagen can get the winner of Chito and Sean OMalley. But that also leaves Aljo kind of out there too, because Aljo is saying he wants an immediate rematch now. One thing I didn't like what he said was he kind of was down himself immediately, like, well, if Sean could do that, then, Volk would imagine what Volk would do to me, which I do kind of agree. Volk's going to be a different animal and beast, especially a little higher weight. But who knows how much, bigger Aljo will look at 145 and stronger as well. So that's still hard to stay there. But I just didn't like the way he kind of was like that. It kind of took a little bit off of OMalley, like, well, if OMalley could do this, then what could Volk do? Well, it was a precise shot. You got to give OMalley his due, his respect on that. And Volk, yeah, he's a different beast, but it's still he's a lot smaller guy. And you could tell Aljo was having a problem with O'Malley's range just because he is longer. He wouldn't have a huge reach advantage, but just being a taller guy and good footwork from side to side and knowing how to get right out of distance and land his own shots. He really did. He's a sniper, like O'Malley called it himself. He is a sniper, and that was a sniper-like shot. One shot, one kill, and then the hammers, fist just dropped hammers there. I mean, so Aljo was scrambling for his life at that point. Regardless if you think it was a little quick or not, it is what it is. He was out of it. The referee actually, or the doctor, asked him right in the cage after, and Aljo couldn't remember where the event was. He didn't remember he was in Boston or Massachusetts. He said that in the post fight. So you can say you're good all day, but you don't even know where you're at that moment, And even against Jan, he was saying that he was, when Jan illegal kneed him, he was sitting on his butt saying he was contemplating like, well, if I just sit here, I win this. If I don't, I might lose and not get another chance. He was contemplating all this in his head while he was flailing around. But yet here he couldn't even know where he was at. So O'Malley, he's got some bricks in his hands. He's that skinny guy, that skinny, strong guy, who just hits hard, have that big of a body frame, but he generates power and he knows how to deliver a precise, fast, accurate punch. And it's still unbelievable that he freaking beat, he beat all odds. Everyone was picking Aljo. I picked Aljo too. I didn't want O'Malley to win. I kept saying, but I just didn't see it happen. I thought it was just a puncher's chance. That's it. And that's what all he needed. And he got it. That's what he needed. And that was it. So then let's watch this fight sequence again. See, reaching with that, barely missed by millimeters, centimeters, and boom, kind of like temple, jaw, this whole side of the face area. And then it just hammers. He just starts hammering away. Here it is again. Boom. And it looks like a nose, temple. This pinpoint accurate, face down, face first. I mean, devastating. Devastating accuracy and timing. Like right there, just barely missed. I mean, that's just a step back. And to have that kind of power going backwards, I mean, not everybody does. Most people, like a lot of these strikers, I don't want to say these strikers, but a lot of Taekwondo guys, whatever, like they need a space for those kicks and they need space to do the devastating stuff. If you smother them, they might not be as comfortable there. They're more like in the middle of the cage, they're comfortable and just dropping hammers, boom, boom. But for him to be able to move backwards and just come back and just knock him out like that shows a lot of power and precision, technique. And yeah, just amazing overall performance. We got a new Bantamweight champ. His name is Sean O'Malley. Yes, Sean O'Malley. Screech McGregor, whatever you want to call him, rising to the top. Rising up. No, he's up there. So him and Chito next. Who knows what's next? Sky's the limit for this guy. I won't doubt him. I mean, I didn't think he'd beat Jan. Arguably he didn't, but whatever. He was in there. He showed that he belonged. And for him to come out here and basically beat Aljo and not take any damage, he made it look kind of easy, honestly. Like Aljo, it was a game plan thing. Maybe it was in his head a little bit. I mean, the crowd was chanting, F you, like, fuck you, Aljo. Like, maybe that got in his head a bit. I don't know. Maybe, he had a lot of energy in the press conference and the weigh-ins. So maybe it's the weight cut. I mean, who knows what it is. He seemed fine. But at the end of the day, Sugar Sean, the Sugar Show. And that's it. There's a new era right here, the Sugar Era. I mean, we'll see what happens. I see where he can go on a run. If he could get past Chito, I think Chito is a tough test because of the leg kick game. And he is a sniper himself, and he has power, and he's durable. He could take a lot of punishment. But, if Sean O'Malley could get on top of him like that and start just dropping hammers, then who knows? I mean, who knows how that first fight would have went? I mean, it is a different O'Malley now. He's much more confident now. I think back then maybe Chito was in his head a little bit, and maybe the power of the kicks, the leg kicks, and there's the uneasiness of once your leg is dead. It seems like since then he's been on a more of a run, like on a tear, just really not like hesitating and not, just a lot of feint. His feint games are good. Like he was getting Aljo to react on every feint, just being out there and just flinching at him and making him think more and just hesitating himself or not finding that entry, because once you react and then try to get there, he's already somewhere else because he's doing a side-to-side movement and, he's in and out. So, I mean, O'Malley definitely leveled up in all aspects and deserved. I mean, we'll see what happens. I could see him, Chito, if he gets past Chito, Sanhagen, which I could picture him like doing well against the Sanhagen. We never see Sanhagen against tall guys like that. Usually he's a taller, lankier guy. So I mean, that'd be an interesting matchup as well. Probably might hit the floor. I think Sanhagen's a little bit more, you know, like disguising with his shots and his takedowns, but O'Malley, you know, he might be stronger. You know, who knows? But yeah, and then Merab. I don't think anybody wants to see that. I think, you know, Merab's almost the same thing. He's a lot shorter though, so he's going to be even more room, more space. Because at least Aljo still had a reach. You know, he only had a 1 inch reach disadvantage to O'Malley. Merab, who knows how much that is, 5'6", maybe. I mean, he's a lot smaller. Like him and Cejudo, I think that makes a good matchup right there. Get one of the wrestlers out of there, you know. Then we'll see. But then that leaves Sterling. So what's Aljo going to do? That's a whole nother video. So see you next time.